What's up, YouTube? This is Dave's Had Enough Wine 7. This is another video to do with my weekly review for Salem Season 3, Episode 1, After the Fall review. Another video from Dave. And yeah, pretty much this is my weekly review for Salem Season 3, Episode 1, After the Fall, which I have to say was fucking excellent. This is the first time I've ever been reviewing Salem on this channel. I figured with American Horror Story coming to an end, why not review Salem? It's one of my favorite shows on television. If you have not seen Salem yet, any of the seasons, or if you're watching this season and you haven't seen it yet, go fucking check it out. It's awesome. I would say it's a very bloody and gruesome show. If you're not a person that likes stuff like that, people draining people's blood and just, really people getting their eyes eaten out, this show's not for you. But I love that type of shit. I love this show. It's great. And like I said, with American Horror Story coming to the end, I only have 2 more episodes of review of that. I need a show to replace that. Why not Salem? So basically, I'm limited to the time I do my reviews due to having to do them on my tablet because my C920 camera with some update that fucked it up, waiting for a new update to fix it. So if I miss something in this review, I'm sorry. I'm going to go over the important parts, give you my thoughts and opinion, call it a review. If I make a mistake, sorry. I'm only human. Alright, so basically it starts the episode out with, these kids singing. And pretty much the skeleton rising from the dead. And basically goes to a meeting with the Essex witches, with the Countess from last season's son. The one that basically, drained Mary's blood and then let her go and then she died. Well, then she saved John Alden and then died. So it's that dude basically talking to the Essex witches, and they're all around in the forest and the woods, and basically, talking about, with him, and he has the snakes, and they're talking about how, the land is theirs. So all of a sudden, before that, actually, he's holding some snakes, and all of a sudden the snakes turn into John Alden's son, the Reaper now, the devil, and he's basically tells one of the witches he's talking to, she comes up, says, this is our land, we brought you here because of the grand right and all that. Basically, he's like, this land is mine. He goes like this, and then goes like this, and fucking spins her like a fan, and just pretty much, disintegrates her ass. And he pretty much tells them, he's like, hey, anybody else wants to go, or has a problem, or you want to go against me? That's what happens. He's a mean little son of a bitch, I have to say, but he is the devil. So basically, these witches are learning, hey, we fucked up. This whole grand right thing of us taking the land maybe wasn't all what we thought it would be. Then you have a part with Mary basically dead, and John Alden basically burying her. And then it goes to Tituba, basically, pretty much the one that got her eyes poked out, basically going to the tree, where that guy that she pretty much ate his eyes. And she's basically now him. The ghost of him is telling her that he's basically has, she's stuck with, what he had to go through. Where she's going to see the future, but she's going to have no eyes. And he basically shows her the future of what they basically done. Bringing the Reaper, the devil, to, Salem. And what they have, pretty much showing them what's the outcome if they don't do nothing. If she don't get Mary back and fix their wrongs and make shit right. And it basically shows the whole Salem destroyed world and everything. And then basically it goes to a scene with the Indians and the French. Basically, it's basically like these people are trying to get into the town of Salem because the Indians and the French are basically burning their homes down. They kind of resist them for a little bit. And then the town leader, Hawthorne, he lets them in. Then you have John Alden basically shooting basically one of the Indians, and he ends up actually getting up and, basically you can see you can't kill these Indians just with fucking guns, and it, basically rises after getting shot, the Indian, and slits this fucking chick's throat, which I thought was pretty gross. Then basically you have Cotton being tortured in his mind. He's basically running in an alley in his dreams, and he has Anne chasing him, and basically sticking Miss Brown Jenkins down his throat. And the funny thing with this is, like, he has a hot fucking witch as a girlfriend. And I know he's, like, against witches and everything, but I would just give in. I'd be like, you ain't gonna get out of this. Like, she's gonna fucking torture you. You got a hot chick with powers, take that. Why not, you know? But he's resisting. And basically, you know, she's talking to him why, you know, how much she loves him and what she wishes he would just, you know, basically give in, you know, just accept she's a fucking witch. And after that part, you have the capture of John Alden. You know, they ended up capturing him after the whole thing with the Indians, because that's also what happened after that Indian slit the throat. These people came into the woods, basically trying to stop the Indians also, and captured him, called him a, you know, an Indian lover and a traitor, and they bring him to the town, and basically they're going to hang him. And then Isaac kind of saves them by telling the town they need him. And then they basically, you know, the Hawthorne guy, the leader, you know, tells them if he basically, you know, joins them, you know, and helps them from the French and the Indians, they'll let him live. So, of course, he agrees. So then it goes to this part with basically, you know, the Reaper and Anne and her brother, the Countess' son, basically talking, you know, pretty much about, he wants them to basically get along. Because he says if they don't get along, he says I'll give you some advice. You two get along, play your roles, or die. Or basically he's going to kill him. And you have the Countess' son basically telling the Reaper about, you know, Cotton still being alive and he's a threat. And he basically toys with Anne the Reaper. He's like, what should we do? You know, should we kill him? And Anne's like, no, I love him, you know. And basically he brushes it off. He just wants them to get along, you know. But he does fuck with them. Or fucks with Anne. You know, then you have basically Tituba taking Mary out of her grave, saying she's sorry she has to do this. And then you have John Alton basically telling Isaac that Mary is dead. You know, and he's all upset about that. Then you see Mercy, like, looking out the window. She's, like, looking, like, at Isaac and John Alden talking. And then we notice that she's now draining blood of, like, she has whores. She's basically running a whorehouse. And she has these girls working for him, working for her being whores, if they let her take, you know, her blood so she can look young instead of the burnt up witch she is. And I have to say, Mercy is a fucking creepy witch, and she's fucking sadistic. Very, you know, very, and she ends up playing, this one girl needs help. So basically she helps girls that are, you know, pretty much going through shit she used to go through with her father. And basically the girl, you know, tells her what's going on, what her father's doing to her, he's a drunk and all this shit. And she says, have you ever played Cat's Cradle? And I thought this was the coolest part of the episode, hands fucking down. And I watched some reviews just to see if how many people were reviewing the show. And I didn't see, you know, there wasn't too many reviews, but nobody talked about this scene. This is one of the coolest scenes in the episode. She says, have you ever played Cat's Cradle? And she got the girl playing Cat's Cradle, and literally they show the girl's dad, and his arm raises, and he don't know why his arm's raising, and she's literally, like, bending his fingers back, breaking his shoulder, his arms. It's like a horrible death, and then launches him out the fucking window. It's fucking cool. So that goes on. Then you have Tituba basically bringing Mary to the Essex witches, and they don't really want Mary. They said this is a bad idea. You know, we're not going to bring her back from the dead, because basically they're telling her, you know, you bring people back from the dead, it's not good. You know, something bad could happen, kind of like with what they did with, you know, the whole thing with the Reaper. They probably don't want no other bad shit going on. They already have something bad going on, so you're going to have Mary, a very powerful witch, coming back, and then she could be really bad. That could be bad news. So they're basically telling her no, and she's basically telling them, you know, hey, you made Mary do this, and they're fighting back and forth, and she's trying to get them to agree to help her basically bring Mary back. So then you have these guys drinking in the woods, and basically that skeleton from the beginning of the episode, he shows up and fucking eats them. You know, and he has these, like, flies that are on his arm that I thought was pretty cool, but then he takes human form. Then you have Cotton and Anne this whole scene with Cotton and Ann, and basically Cotton talking to Ann talking to Cotton, trying to still get him to give in, and then all of a sudden John Alden shows up, and she kind of like goes like this and like silences his voice because he's trying to scream for help because she's basically, you know, keeping him captive. And then John Alden comes in. He pretty much tells her, "I know you're a witch," pretty much, and she like kind of looks shocked at first. And then he starts talking like some shit about her, and she gets fucking pissed and starts fucking strangling her. She's like holding her hand like this, and you know, with her powers choking him. And he's basically telling her to let him go. "You're gonna kill me," you know. And then she says, you know, "Leave before I fucking change my mind." And then basically it goes from that scene to the Reaper and the Countess' son drinking Mary's blood, you know. And he's showing the Countess' son how he can still see Mary, like she, you know, kind of like her soul's still there, or, you know, something like that if you drank the blood. But he's like, "She's mine." He's like, "You'll never taste her again." I thought that was, he's a little fucking dickhead. Like, he is truly, that kid plays the part to the T of this. I think he's one of the best actors on this show. He's like, just plays the role of like a little fucking shit. Like an evil little son of a bitch, you know. Then you got basically the Essex witches basically helping Tituba raise Mary from the dead. They basically put her in some like tree branches. Then you have Isaac finding the body of the guy that suffered, you know, the victim from the cat's cradle thing, which what Mercy did, launching that guy out the window. And he's asking anybody, "Hey, does anybody know who this guy is?" You know. And then you have Anne basically testing Cotton, telling Cotton, "Hey, I'm going to let you, you know, just roam free. I trust you." And you could tell Cotton's up to no good. You could tell he's like, he's like, "Oh, let me pray for thanks," and all this. But you could tell he's up to no good. Then you have basically the skeleton dude that basically took human form going and meeting the Reaper. And we find out that is the Reaper's brother. You know, and he's basically, you know, talking in different languages, and then the Reaper tells him, "Hey, talk in English," and he starts talking in English, basically learning to be human. And then you have this whole thing with John Alton drinking, drinking and Cotton trying to... Yeah, basically this whole scene, it goes back and forth with John Alden drinking at a bar, and then Cotton decides to escape. And Cotton gets out the front door, and then he gets like right near the fence, and all of a sudden like stops, and he's like holding his chest or his stomach, and then all of a sudden Anne shows up, you know, at the door and tells him to come back in, and basically like, you know, he learns that Brown Jenkins is still inside him, and if he don't fucking listen to her, she says, or, you know, he disobeys her, Brown Jenkins is gonna feast on his insides. And I thought that was fucking awesome. You know, like I said, she's a fucking hot witch. Give in to her. Who gives a fuck? You're pretty much doomed if you don't. You know, I mean, I don't understand it. And then it goes basically with John Alden basically pissed at the Countess' son for killing Mary, and you know, he's like, "I'm gonna kill you right now," and they get into like a little scruffle. And then it goes to Mary's sibling being raised from the dead, runs out of this like tree area. They had her in like some trees, and she breaks out. And that's how they end the episode. I have to say, this is a fucking awesome episode. This show just keeps getting better and better every season. You know, this show with the channel WGN has really paved the way. It's kind of like The Walking Dead, Breaking Bad with AMC, how that really got that channel going. Salem got this channel going, where it got shows like The Outsider and other shows to really, you know, become noticed. You know, this really helped this channel a lot, this show, Salem. It's a fucking awesome show. Like I said, it's getting better and better every season. It's not one of them shows that basically, you know, it starts off great, then it's kind of okay the next season, then it gets better. No, it's consistent and raising the bar. You know, I think this season's going to be awesome. You got Marilyn Manson. He wasn't in this episode, but he's going to be in next. He's going to be some crazy hairstylist with a guy that basically cuts people open just to see what's in them for fun. He's going to be, you know, some sadistic character. I think Marilyn Manson's a great actor, especially after his role he played in Sons of Anarchy when he was like banging Juice in jail, and he's a leader of the Aryan Brotherhood. But my review score, because I'm limited on time, it's a fucking 10. I love this episode. Check it out. If you have not seen this episode, what are you doing? You have not watched this show, what the fuck are you doing? Thanks, guys. Leave your thoughts in the comments section. More videos to come later, YouTube.